Congratulations.
Thank
Iga
you.
was in here a bit ago, and she was saying that she was struggling returning your serve, especially when it got slower.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering if you noticed that at all tactically, that sometimes the slower serves can throw off the rhythm of an opponent, and something you can use as a weapon, even if it's not a powerful weapon.
Yes, I have never really been the biggest server in comparison to a lot of the girls here. So I do my best to use my serve as an advantage. You know, I think I have a lot of other strengths.
For 2 weeks, Wimbledon produced its usual collection of unforgettable moments. Grand Slam champions battled for survival. Future stars announced themselves on the sport's biggest stage. Yet, when Alex Eala's remarkable run came to an end, an unexpected conversation began taking over social media. Fans weren't only discussing who was still in the draw. Many were asking whether the tournament had just lost. One of its biggest attractions, called a 20-year-old from the Philippines, really changed the atmosphere of tennis's oldest championship, or had one extraordinary fortnight simply captured the imagination of the entire sporting world. Let's take a closer look.
Even Federer had to pull up to watch Eala. That's how phenomenal she has been over this last week and a bit. But Ayala's run is done. She is out of Wimbledon. She showed fight, she showed grit, she showed determination. But today was just the beginning of something special. Big shout out to Jasmine Paolini, who's into another quarterfinal at Wimbledon. She beat Eala in 3 unbelievable sets of tennis with momentum going back and forth, and she just edged it out.
It didn't happen overnight, with every passing round. Alex Eala's presence around the All England club became harder to ignore wherever she appeared. More people gathered, more Philippine flags filled the grounds, and the energy around her matches continued to grow. Veteran tennis followers noticed it too. What began as support for a promising young player gradually evolved into one of the tournament's defining stories.
On tennis's biggest stage is a monumental feat for any 21-year-old player. Dude, we keep forgetting that this girl is only 21 years old. Actually, it's easy to forget because of how mature she appears to be in interviews. Also, a historic first for the Philippines. With this victory, Eala became the first Filipino player in the Open era.
The signs were everywhere. Practice courts that usually attracted modest crowds suddenly became packed. Cheers echoed across the grounds. Long before matches even began, early round contests featuring Eala often carried an atmosphere usually reserved for center court showdowns. It wasn't just Filipino supporters making noise. Curious spectators, international media, and neutral tennis fans were increasingly drawn to the excitement surrounding one of Wimbledon's newest stars.
Shout out to Eva Lees for her comment here. She says, Alex Eala is exactly what tennis needs. And Eva, I couldn't agree more. Although Alex Eala's run at this year's Wimbledon came to an end today at the hands of Jasmine Paolini in the round of 16, she still has so much to be proud of and so much to look forward to. As you've probably heard by now, Alex Eala's win over the defending champion Iga Swiatek put her in the history books as the first person from the Philippines to ever make the second week of a Grand Slam.
Then came the surprise. When Eala's Wimbledon journey ended, the conversation didn't move on with the tournament. Instead, many fans kept talking about the player who was no longer in the draw in a championship filled with Grand Slam winners and established stars. One of the biggest talking points had become a young Filipina experiencing the best run of her career.
Eala, I'm rooting for you. Keep the Filipino wave going. There's something about her representation that I really, really like. It just, something is very positive about seeing how many flags come out for her, how many people are tweeting and viewing her stuff on YouTube and all kind of things. I just enjoy it, you know? It's a different flavor, it's a different spice in the pot, and I like her game. She's like Eala is like a Angelique Kerber of the current that I can root for.
When Alex Eala's Wimbledon run ended, something unusual happened. The conversation didn't immediately shift to the title favorites or the next blockbuster match. Instead, countless fans were still talking about the player who had already packed her bags. That's a rare position for someone who didn't lift the trophy. Just a few years earlier, Eala was regarded as one of junior tennis's brightest prospects. Now, she had become one of the tournament's defining stories. Her run to the fourth round made history as the first Filipino to reach that stage of a Grand Slam. Along the way, she stunned defending champion Iga Świątek before pushing Jasmine Paolini through a gripping three-set battle. She left Wimbledon without the title, but she left with something many players spend entire careers chasing: global recognitions.
Weekly here, and Alexandra Eala creating more history on the tennis court. She is the first player from the Philippines to reach week 2 at a major in the Open era. And Chris, I'm not gonna lie, the reaction, the buzz, the support for Eala, it's on a scale I don't think I've ever seen before.
I've never seen anything like it either. I think the amount of attention she gets, the buzz that she generates is absolutely huge. I think it's bigger than some of the top players, the number ones in the...
Perhaps the most remarkable part wasn't how quickly Alex Eala became popular, it was how naturally it happened. There was no carefully scripted campaign trying to turn her into tennis's next superstar. The momentum came from people discovering her game for themselves, then telling everyone else to watch. Across the Philippines, alarms rang before sunrise. As families gathered around televisions, restaurants filled with supporters wearing national colors. Public watch parties grew larger with every victory. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away in London, that same energy arrived. At the All England Club, tournament staff quickly realized that whenever Eala appeared on the daily schedule, the crowds rarely behaved like they were watching an unseeded player. They behaved as though they were witnessing the beginning of something much bigger.
I think being a competitive athlete, especially at this level in general, of course it comes with pressure, but everybody has pressure built into their lives at one point. And look at the everyday Filipino, my parents who have put food on the table for me and my brother and who have sacrificed so much. I can't imagine the pressure that they've been through. All the parents and everybody, providing for them.
And that excitement wasn't driven by nationality alone. If patriotism were the only reason, neutral tennis fans wouldn't have joined in. What kept drawing people back was the way Eala played. Modern tennis often rewards overwhelming power, but Eala wins points differently. She absorbs pressure, she anticipates patterns before they develop. She extends rallies until opponents are forced into mistakes they never expected to make. She turns defense into attack, making every point feel like a problem her opponent has to solve. That's one reason analysts have become increasingly fascinated by her progress. Her game doesn't simply produce results, it creates drama. Every rally feels competitive, every match feels alive, and every tournament throughout the 2026 season added another layer of belief that her breakthrough was no longer a surprise.
Like this, they are the start of, what could be something really, really special here. And I just think it's a great story. And I think what's interesting is she's in the right part of the draw, Joel, for it to go even further.
She is indeed. Do you see her as a genuine contender? Personally, I feel if you're the person who's dumping out the defending champion, then you have to be in with a shout for the title. And I do think the draw does help her. But Chris, what do you think? Do you think she's a genuine contender now?
By the time Wimbledon began, one thing had quietly changed. Alex Eala was no longer entering tournaments, hoping to surprise the field. She had reached the point where top players could no longer overlook her. Her consistent performances throughout the season had transformed isolated breakthroughs into a pattern match after match. She proved that her rise wasn't fueled by favorable draws or one unforgettable week. It was built on repeatable performances against elite competition. That growing belief reached its peak when she stunned defending champion Iga Świątek. The upset didn't just reshape the women's draw, it reshaped the conversation around Alex Eala. Suddenly, broadcasters, analysts, and international media weren't asking whether she belonged on tennis's biggest stage. They were asking how far she could go. Almost overnight, millions of people who had never followed her career wanted to understand where she came from, how she developed her game, and why every tournament now seemed to come with a wave of Philippine support.
That Eala had over this last week was something special and something that she can truly be proud of and something that she's going to build upon. We've seen the birth of a superstar in this game, and I'm convinced of that. The way that she played, the determination she plays with, the amount of people that are behind her watching her play. She's box office, but all in all, it's a week that she can be proud of, and it's a week that she can build up on. 2026 has been a building year, and she is building so well.
Fame changes athletes. For some, it becomes a distraction. For others, it slowly changes the way they interact with the world around them. What has surprised many people about Alex Eala is how little it appears to have changed her, even as cameras followed her more closely and expectations continued to grow. She carried herself with the same relaxed personality that teammates, opponents, and coaches had known. Long before the spotlight arrived, that balance matters. More than it seems, the modern tennis calendar keeps players traveling together for most of the year, creating a close-knit environment where reputations spread quickly. Eala has earned respect, not only for the way she competes, but also for the way she conducts herself. Away from the court, perhaps that's why her popularity continues to grow. In an era where athletes often feel carefully managed by branding and social media, Alex Eala still comes across as something increasingly rare, a player who feels genuine. And for fans, authenticity can be just as memorable as victory.
And I think that comes down to the fact that she is from a nation where there is only one player. It is her, and she is pioneering. So I think she's getting the whole of the country excited about tennis and into tennis for the first time, probably. And I mean, what an amazing thing to see. She's such a great ambassador for the sport. And I also think the fact that she has been a Rafa baby, you know, she is from the Rafa Nadal Academy. Maybe the Spanish audience are also getting supportive of her, as well as now a global audience. But Joel, is she now even more hyped than Fonseca?
I think so, and I think she's now got the tennis to back.
Alex Eala's Wimbledon journey ended. Disappointment was inevitable. Across the Philippines, public viewing events that had brought thousands together fell silent after the final point. There was no fairy tale ending, no trophy celebration, only the realization that an unforgettable run had come to an end, yet the reaction afterward revealed something even more significant. The conversation wasn't dominated by the loss. It centered on everything Eala had created. During those 2 remarkable weeks, her matches had become appointment viewing. Her supporters transformed Wimbledon into something that often felt like a home tournament, and fans around the world found themselves invested in a player many had only recently discovered for a rising athlete. That's an achievement that can't be measured by rankings alone.
The first time we've seen Alex Eala defeat Iga Swiatek, the person who ironically handed her her diploma when she graduated from the Rafael Nadal Academy. I was put on to Alex Eala's potential impact on the sport when she defeated Iga Swiatek in the quarterfinals of the Miami Open in 2025 to advance to her first Masters 1000 semifinal. Ever since that moment, I have not seen a tournament in which the Filipino fans didn't show up in droves for Eala. In closing, and in reference to what Eva said in her comment,
every sport eventually searches for the athlete who can bring new people through the door, not simply by winning championships, but by giving an entirely new audience a reason to care. Alex Eala is beginning to do exactly that. Her success has introduced professional tennis to countless young fans across the Philippines and throughout Southeast Asia, while reminding the sport that future champions are no longer limited to its traditional powerhouses. Tournament organizers have started noticing the pattern wherever Eala competes. Attendance grows, practice courts become busier, and interest follows her from one event to the next. That's the difference between a player having a successful season and a player beginning to influence the direction of the sport itself. Every victory now carries a message that extends far beyond the scoreboard. It tells the next generation that the road to center court is no longer reserved for a select few countries.
Like I said, I think representation is so important, but I think representation goes beyond nationality, it goes beyond beyond. It's so multidimensional.
Yeah.
That representation is exactly what you said. It's being able to see yourself in someone else, and I think if I'm able to do that for other people, then I'd be really happy.
Yeah, not to mention, I think we so oftentimes talk about tennis as this singular sport that you go through by yourself. And it was so clear today how much and how many you were carrying with you.
Perhaps that's why Wimbledon felt different this year. Alex Eala didn't leave London holding the championship trophy. She left with something that may prove even more valuable over time. Belief that a player from the Philippines can stand toe-to-toe with Grand Slam champions. Belief that millions of young fans can see themselves reflected on one of sport's most iconic stages. And belief that women's tennis may have discovered one of its next defining personalities. History doesn't always begin with a title. Sometimes it begins with a breakthrough that changes the way people watch the sport. If Wimbledon was the tournament that introduced Alex Eala to the world, then the rest of the tennis world has been given a clear warning. This story is only beginning.